Dr. Daniel Black is professor of African American Studies at the illustrious Clark Atlanta University. He is the author of several major novels, including The Coming, They Tell Me of a Home, my summer freshman read, which was Perfect Peace, Don't Cry for Me, and soon to be released, his first essay collection, Black on Black. Dr. Black is a renowned scholar, a superb teacher, a mentor, a choir director, and a lover of his people. He is the founder of a rites of passage organization which teaches principles and character in the lives of African American people. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Daniel Black.
Thank you, Chelsea. I appreciate that. I want to suggest a couple of things, though. Before we talk about toxic masculinity, I really want to talk about toxic masculinity as the outcome of something else. And that is the thing called patriarchy, right? How many of you know what patriarchy is? Yes, patriarchy is this notion that because a person is male, because a human being is born male, he is endowed with certain privileges, with certain rights, right, that are really God-given, that establishes him as a person who has power and authority. Now, this gets very complicated. How many of you say, I do not believe in patriarchy? Raise your hands. Oh. How many of you say, patriarchy is okay with me? Who says, I hate patriarchy? Okay. All right. Now, let's be a little careful. Let's be just a little careful. Because how many of us believe that spiritually a man should be the head of his household? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some of the same people said we hate patriarchy. How you hate patriarchy and believe that? How does, because why should he be the head of his house? Why? Because God said it? Okay, why? No problem. Why? Why should a man be the head of the house?
To me, I just think it's like learned behavior. Like I grew up and my mom and dad, they worked as a team, but we always looked at my dad as like the head of the household, the protector. So naturally, when I look for a husband, I want him to be head of the household.
Protector.
Yeah.
One who tells you what to do.
No. That's not the same thing?
That's what a head does. It protects you.
Maybe like a president and like a vice president.
Yeah, the president always trumps the vice president, you know.
Yeah, but like, just not in all aspects, you know?
When does the vice president trump the president?
I don't know. In this scenario, I'm just saying, like in the household, like my mom.
So if I tell you right now, just be quiet. Yeah, what?
It's not gonna go good.
Oh, can I say it sweetly? Is the problem that I was rude? Because I was rude. Or if I said, can you just be quiet, please? Is that better? And then you'd fall quiet?
Yeah, and then like.
Well, be quiet. Shh, 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 shh. Okay. I'm not going to be able to get out of here alive today. This is very complicated, of course. Because on one hand, there's certain parts of patriarchy we want. Right? And then there are parts of it we don't want. And so how do you tease through? Can you get only the nice parts?
Men really do come with, oh, I got you, I'm sorry. Men sometimes come with like an ego, and like sometimes you can't really, dwindle that down for them. Like it'll take them like later on, like, to actually understand and humble themselves.
Okay. Assuming that you're heteronormative, do you think a man is the head of the household? No.
Just like she was saying, like, because like I saw that, but like genuinely now, no.
Do you want a man to protect you?
I mean, yeah, if you're my partner, you should protect me regardless, like, because I'll protect you. Yeah.
Will you take your husband's last name?
See, I was thinking about that. I don't know. I mean, but my
Will your children have his last name? You're saying yes. Why?
That's their father.
You their mother.
But if I'm married to him, my last name is also that. So I'm contemplating if I want to add it on or just take his last name.
Okay. With me hyphenate.
Yes,
Should he hyphenate yours?
if he wants to.
No, he will. Like, if I'm doing it, you're going to do it too.
Okay.
We're one.
I didn't know that's how that worked.
You know his hyphenated last name.
I don't know anything.
Okay, hold on. Yes, ma'am.
Can we add some LGBTQ nuance here? Because like as a bisexual woman, like the conversations around toxic masculinity and what men should do consistently revolve around heteronormative standards. And like as I date men too, and it's like I don't believe a man should be the head of the household. I feel like it should be equally yoked. So the presenting of like lesbian women like mask or everything. So yeah, I definitely do think that there are aspects of the patriarchy even in LGBTQ plus relationships.
And in fact, even if we're talking about masculinity, even before we get to toxic, because I don't think all masculinity is toxic. Right. But let's first see if we can get clear on what do we mean by masculinity? What does it mean to be masculine? Somebody help me. What does that mean? What does it mean to be masculine? In fact, I'm gonna put myself right. We can laugh through it. It's fine. I trust me. I do not have a sensitive outer. Am I masculine? No. Okay. Okay. You're saying kind of so, kind of. I'm kind of masculine, kind of not, which is okay. I'm fluid. She said I'm fluid. Okay. I'm gonna put the gentleman. If you identify as male in the room, how many of you as men in this room say I'm a man and I think I'm masculine? Look around. Raise your hands. I'm a man and I think I'm masculine. Eric, is your hand up, sort of? Okay. Who says I'm a man and I'm definitely not masculine? Okay. 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 Who says and I'm a man and I'm not quite sure if I'm masculine or not? One. Okay. Okay. Which means this is a slippery slope. And it is a slippery slope, right? Because, first of all, let's see if we can get to what masculine is. Then we're going to see how much masculinity do you have to have, right? So let's first see if we can get what masculinity is. Can we get started and say that masculinity is a performance of strength? Okay, okay. Masculinity is the absence of fear. No, okay. We'll scratch that one. Masculinity is the absence of drama. Okay. Masculinity is the absence of effeminate performance. You're saying yes. This brother's saying yes. Well, we are society. This is society. Well, you know, that's tricky because most people say that, and we still keep getting the same standards. Right? So somewhere our own standards are contradictory. Because when we say, well, this is what society believes, that means you. Well, not me. Yes, you. Yes, me. Right? Because can you wear earrings and be masculine as a man? Yes. Can you wear dangling earrings? The men are saying no. You got to be a pirate. Can you wear large hoop earrings? Large hoop earrings and be masculine. Folks are like, no. Okay, can you wear a very small hoop? Okay, great. How big can the hoop be? Okay, a dime size hoop. Quarter size. Well, these folks not agreeing with you, brother. A quarter-size hoop? That's too big? So an apple size is entirely out. If a man's trying to be masculine, and you can't wear two of them. Okay, that's fine. It's just helping me. Just helping me. Just helping me. Can you wear yellow pants? Yes. Can you wear floral print pants? If you know how to carry it, okay. All right. Can you burst into tears? Can you burst into tears because you see a teddy bear? The men are saying, hell no. Why do you say no?
Because it's just a teddy bear. It's just a toy. You don't got to cry over no toy, right?
Let me ask this. Ladies, or gentlemen, doesn't matter. Can a man cry far more than you? Yes. And be your husband? Y'all, okay, we good with that. You can be masculine. Okay. Okay. All I'm trying to do is find out what we mean then because we're saying, yeah, that's acceptable. So what's unacceptable? Oh, cheating. Well, yeah, that's unacceptable for a human being. Right. I'm trying to find the things that are unacceptable if you're a man, if you're going to be masculine.
He painted his fingernails. Like
if a man painted his fingernails, that's too much. Raise. Not one, but if he painted all 10, who says you cannot paint your fingernails if you're my man? Raise your hand. No problem. No problem. I'm following you. Who says you cannot? I don't want no color all over your fingernails. Raise your hands. Raise it high. Okay. Who says my man could have painted fingernails? No problem. No problem. If you're same gender loving, who says, I would like a masculine man? Or if a woman, right? Yeah, who says I would like a little stud in a woman? Okay, well, no problem. Okay, it's fine. Listen. Before 3 o'clock, all of us are going to be indicted in this room. Okay, trust me. Because right now what we're trying to figure out is what can be masculine, and of course y'all know I'm headed somewhere here. No fingernail painting, I can hear that. Can he wear a dress? That's too far. No dresses. No problem. Okay, no problem. It's no problem. No judgment. No dress. Can he carry a purse? A what? A what?
A telfer, yes.
Like a merce? Can he carry this? Why not? Oh, that's just not masculine, which is okay. Who says, I don't want no pocketbook? Purse? I'm a little old school. We used to call them pocketbooks. All right. Nope. That's a little much. Okay. No, this. Ma'am, I'm saying this. No, okay, I'm getting somewhere. Good. Okay. No designer purses, right? No fingernail polish. This is good. Can he have extensions? No.
No, I'm not feeling like, what do you need extensions for? Unless it's like, say, some men, they have like a bald spot and they be having to like get a little something to like.
She's trying to mess with me. I'm just messing. Who says no extensions? Raise your hand. No extensions. No weave. No weave. A man wig? A toupee? Okay. All right. Okay. Can he, let's see, what's the word I want? masculine. Can he have a little switch in the walk? Y'all like, no. Well, I mean, it may just be the way he walks. You know, just a little. I mean, just a little sway. It's just a little. I mean, y'all are frowning at me. Okay, y'all, no. Dwayne, no. You don't want, no. Okay, I can hear you. No. So, you like masculine traits too? Oh. Okay. Help me then. You're in between? What are you in between? Okay, you got on the earrings, but it is a small hoop. Okay. Y'all like, that's all right. Okay. But it cannot be a quarter. Don't get no quarter-size hoops, Dwayne. You're going to be in trouble. Now, all right, which means, if you hear a noise at 2 o'clock in the morning, he goes to the door. Oh, wow, we're clear on that one. Wow. He goes to the door. Wow. Okay. Or the Butch sister goes to the door. Yeah. Oh, wow. Do you go to the door at 2 o'clock, Dwight? Okay. Okay. While your partner is, okay. All right. Now, this is really good. Okay. Does he get the last word? Even though it's a team? Wait. We're a team, of course. Yes. But why couldn't he get the last word if he got to go to the door? Then why wasn't it a solution when we heard the noise at the door too? Why don't you go too? Because what I'm really trying to show you is under masculinity and under patriarchy, if he goes to the door at 2 o'clock, right? What privilege does he get in exchange for performing that behavior? It is an exchange. I want you to be very clear. Even if you think it is not, you're going to see in a minute that it is. Because you're asking him to put his life on the line, which could be perfectly okay. You're asking him to put his life on the line to protect the family, no problem. Then what does he get in exchange for that? Every performance is an exchange, young people. Every ideology, right, is a negotiation. It's not come back and then you tell me what, no. That's not how patriarchy rolls.
What he gets back. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
What he gets back after he saved the family is a family to come back to. Because if he didn't save me, I wouldn't be here.
If he couldn't save you, wow.
Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry.
Okay, yes, ma'am. No, that's what I think. This is eye-opening for me. Because that's what you're saying, but that's not what he's going to tell you. That's not what he's going to tell you. Because, again, what I'm really trying to show us is patriarchy, toxic masculinity works as a negotiation, right? It does not perform free. It's going to get something in return for this behavior that you are requiring of it, right? Even if you want to roll with the Bible, which is going to get very tricky here in a minute, right? It's not just that the man is the head of the household. The man gets dominion. Absolutely. And you in it. That's why you take his name. Because he's leading it. This is true even if it's two men. True, it's two men. It's the same thing. If you believe, if patriarchy, if masculinity is some of your requirement, right? It's going to get very, very complicated, right? So what I really want you to do is just make sure you think through these ideas and think through these terms more than just what you want, but what will the person want in return for what you have required? Y'all understand what I'm saying to you? It's going to get real complicated. It's going to get real tricky. Now, how many of you say, I would prefer a son, if I have children, I would prefer a son who is masculine. Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who said an effeminate son would be perfectly fine with me? Okay, all right. My 7-year-old son, if he wanted a pink room, he could have it, no problem. Okay, who says I can't do it? 1, 2. Most people of any race, of any group, are not going to paint a 9-year-old boy's room pink. Most people will not do it, right? We're talking lots of great liberty in this room, but as parents, I'm not sure how far we'd go, right? I'm not really sure about that, because the truth of the matter is most of us want this masculinity in some form, right? Even the notion of, should a man open a door for you? Yeah. That's a gentleman thing to do. Wow. But it's a good thing. Okay. Who raised your hand and says it's a good thing if a man opens the door for you? It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Okay, I got it. Okay. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay. All right. Wow. And why is it a good thing?
Because it just shows, like, I guess we was taught that it shows, like, respect or, like...
Respect. So then why shouldn't she open the door for you? Why wouldn't it show the same thing?
It will, and I will, and I do the same thing. Like, I open the door, I hold the door open for somebody. Yeah, it's just, like, a good gesture, basically.
So if you get to the door first, are you going to wait and let him open it? You go, oh, she said I'm going to stand right there. Because when he opens it, he's showing you respect. Wow. In fact, chauvinism and toxic masculinity are going right together in my head. Absolutely. In fact, if that's true, if it shows respect, it seems to me that we need men to open door for men. Because it's us as black men who are shooting black men. That's where we need the greatest influx of respect in our community right now. Seems like we should open the door for each other, and y'all open it for yourselves. Oh, no.
See, now you...
Okay, so when it comes to opening doors, like Jackie went and told me. Oh, okay. When it comes to opening doors, if you're dating somebody, and they asked you out first, I would say, like, yeah, you can open the door for me, like, because you're interested in me. Why not? You know.
Yes, pass it her right now.
It don't matter to me, cause I open the door for a dude and a girl. Like, even going to school, when I swipe my card, I hold the door for a dude. I hold the door for a dude. I hold the door for a girl. I hold the door for a kid, older woman, older man. It never mattered to me. And even in a relationship, I'll open the door and then my dude be right behind me, grab the door, and I walk in first and he walk in behind me. It's always been like that. Even with my brother, like, I had to, you know, growing up, my mother is just my mother. So we teach him, like, Cam, you got to open the door for mommy, you got to open the door for grandma, whatever. But me growing up for 8 years by myself, watching my mother open my door and me opening my mama's door, so that's just something that's been in me. Like, I can open my door. I could do all that, you know.
Okay.
Okay, so when, like, the person that I'm with right now, like, how he was raised, like, a lot of people from where I'm at are raised like this, to where, like, the men are supposed to open the door. Like, they will get mad if you open the door yourself. Like, they're like, no, come back out the door. We finna do this again. Because, like, that's just how they are. They're like, because that's what he does to me. Like, if I touch the door, he'll be like, hey, no, I'm going to open the door for you because that's my job. So that's just like, yeah.
Okay. I just find that, I find this so interesting, even the notion that that's his job, because, and of course, you know, I have 4 brothers, and my father taught the same. He said, you open a door for a woman. Okay, that part wasn't hard. The part that we didn't tell women was what my father taught that you're supposed to get in exchange for this. Right? I knew what I was supposed to do in terms of, the external behavior. I couldn't figure out why we weren't telling women the part that daddy and men were whispering about privately, right? The notion that she's going to serve you. In fact, please hear it. Please hear it, because this is what you're going to get, right? If you're going to carry, right, this notion of patriarchy and masculinity, right? A woman will cook for you, boy. That's what Daddy used to say. A woman will wash your clothes. I said, oh, that's how this goes. I said, oh. Now, my stepmother, who I grew up with, she did this. Daddy opened the door. She cooked all. I said, that's the balance thing here. Which is why I think, even in homonormative relationships tend to still use these same precepts. Because what we know in America, right, is this contract between master and slave. It's really the master-slave narrative all over again. We're just trying to use the nice parts, right? But the problem here is nobody wants to be the slave. But everybody wants to be the master. Here's what's tricky about that. If nobody wants to be the slave, but everybody wants to be the master, you're going to have to make a slave. Because we're dreaming too hard of being somebody's master. Do y'all understand what I'm saying to you? This dream of ruling, controlling, and dominating is what all of us in America have been taught. But nobody wants to be oppressed. Nobody wants to be dominated. Right? Nobody wants to be, which is why people ask all kinds of questions, even in terms of your, I won't get into here, but in terms of your sexual preferences, etc., because they're asking questions of, like, how will this negotiation go? You understand what I'm saying? Right? Who will do what? Right? Will you be willing to provide such and such a service that I like? Right? And people ask it of all sexual orientations. Y'all understand what I'm saying to you, I'm sure. Right? And the very question is the insertion of a toxic masculinity into the relationship. Because the question is like, am I going to get satisfied here? Am I going to get served? Right. And if not, I don't think this is going to work. Oh, or this is what I love. We're not compatible. I love that. What does that really mean? Or this, we don't have chemistry. What are you saying? That the part I need you to do, you ain't willing to do. Yes, ma'am.
So that part, when we were talking earlier, that's the part that, for the reason for me where I was like, I can't do it, because growing up, I saw that dynamic within my own family, and I was like, I don't want to carry that in. Like, I've had times where men wanted to open the door for me and things like that, especially even in dating, and then they always expected something after. And so now, like, my friends tell me since my freshman year all the time, no, he got to open the door. And I'm like, why? Because if he opens the door, I already know as a woman, he's going to ask me for something later. Like, it's already in my mind, so I don't let nobody open the door. I open the door for me. And I don't know, it's just a protective, it becomes a defense mechanism type thing.
I have opened the door at times for another man. This is really true. I've opened the door at times for another man, and he was offended. I've done that. Now, I don't mean that I walked through the door and I just kind of held it for a minute and the brother just kind of came on behind me. I've literally rushed around in front of a brother and opened the door and said, "Go right ahead, my brother." Why is that laughable? That's how I said. I said, "Brother, go right ahead." I mean, that's not a wonderful gesture? But why didn't he think that was wonderful? That's so crazy. And I think we should stop using the word straight. I think so. Anybody want to know why? Right. Because straight suggests correct. The straight and narrow. That which is correct. Yeah. Like as opposed to crooked. Right. And then the question becomes, of course, then what do you call heteronormative men, right? If you don't say straight, what can you say? She says you can say cisgender, right? Or non-gay, right? It depends on what, I'm really trying to show, it depends on what your center is, right? Because to say something is straight is to say that is really the way it ought to be, right? Another thing about this that I think is really interesting is just like a toxic masculinity, I think there's a toxic femininity. Right. I think there are ways in which certain expectations that often women carry of men is highly problematic. Right. Yeah, I think so. I'll come back to that in a minute, though. I want to do one other thing in terms of toxic masculinity here, and that is, can a man speak about another man's beauty? No homo. You look good, no homo. I like your suit, no homo. That means they're not a homo or you're not? Or there's no homo here. Yes, sir.
I'll tell you right now, one time I had this, I'm a 55-year-old cisgendered, non-homosexual man. Is that? Yeah. And I remember I had a doctor one time I went to see, and I to this day, he's one of the most handsome men I've ever seen, and I had another friend go see that doctor, and he and I are both, kind of the same as far as that goes, and we were sitting around and talking about going to see this doctor, and I looked at him, and he goes, yeah, he's just the most beautiful man you've ever seen, isn't he? I was like, yeah, he is. I didn't want to sleep with him or anything, but I mean, I just was like, I wanted to go, gosh, you're so handsome. I mean, it's all right. Yeah. I mean,
and I don't know what, this no homo is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. I need people to start making intelligent statements and say, no stupidity. Now, because there's a lot of idiots in the world. So if I were to look at Dwayne and say, Dwayne, you are gorgeous. Oh my God, how beautiful. Right. Now, most brothers won't do that, right? So what are masculine terms that a man could use in order to stay masculine, to speak about another man's beauty? You look good. You look good. You look, okay, you look good. You look fresh. You look fresh. All right. Okay. How about you are drop dead beautiful? No, too much. No. Okay. Okay. How about hey, bruh, you take my breath away? Too much? That's too much. That's too much. Okay. You lose masculine points if you take the breath away. Okay. But here's what's interesting. Girls can say it to each other without losing any femininity. Why? Yes, but why do we have it? See, in college, you have to ask the why. You don't just announce the what. In college, you're looking for the why. Yes, ma'am.
It also really makes me think, too, because even when you look at homosexual relationships, girl-on-girl relationships are so much more accepted. And even in, like, the Drake song, Girls Like Girls, where it's, like, it's so much more accepted. And even then, though, like, for example, like, when I turn guys on and be like, I like girls, they'd be like, oh, does you and your girlfriend want a boyfriend? Like, they don't respect it as much as, like, they respect or they, like, male-on-male relationships are much more serious. So it's why? Because women are we're belongings, like what's the word? Objects to them. We're property to them. Like we don't have sovereignty over our own bodies. So when we do things or when we say things, it's not serious to them because they say, oh, I could just go in and do, oh, you haven't had a real man before. That's why you did it. Like, child, please. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Now, I'm going to get my brother up here in a minute. But, driving here today, I was listening to J. Cole. And I was listening to J. Cole. There's a song he has called Wet Dreams. Oh, y'all. Oh, okay. Well, okay. Wow. And I was listening to the whole album. And one of the things I noticed is that in a lot of hip hop songs, and certainly in this, brothers keep talking about the size of their sex organ, right? Not just you have, but the size of it, right? Like I'm trying to figure out how. There's got to be some way that they believe that adds to their masculine prowess, right? But how? But like, is that about imagination? Is that about like?
It's more about satisfying, like
Still not satisfied. They just think that okay, I'm sorry. They just think that like that's their manhood. So it's like, okay, no, like I'm a better man to you because, you know, whatever. And then it does go into satisfaction because it's like I can put it down. I got this big. You ain't satisfying her, you know, type thing.
And I keep wondering, like, why does this work, though? Right? Both culturally and in music. Like, why does it work when brothers rap? Like, why? Nobody seemed offended but me, right? I mean, the man that sold millions of albums. So I said, somebody likes this, right? Like, why does this work? And what does this penis size do? And does J. Cole believe that the average woman thinks, I mean, does J. Cole really believe that the average person actually believes that his penis is gigantic? Like, does J. Cole really believe that? Do people believe that? Yeah, but yeah. It's like, and like, who believes, like, who believes this?
It's not even like you believe it. It's more like I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's more like
And why does a man get points? And let's say it's true. Why does a man get points for that? Like, why do you get points for that? If it is true, why do you get points for that? And you're doing marvelously. You're doing marvelously. A woman's going to want a man who, yes, but every man has a penis.
yes, but not everyone has
No,
a sizable.
that's true. That's true. Now that's I'm gonna be respectful too. That's very true. That's true. But it's as intelligent, or as, you know, no stupidity. It's as intelligent as believing that the size of a woman's breasts signify how well she will nurse children. That's not intelligent at all. It's not intelligent. It's not even sensible, right? It's really a slave holdover, right? That has us literally putting our entire wealth between our legs, right? And it's a dangerous, dangerous thing. My sister was saying, and it's very true. This notion that a man's manhood is actually one extension of him is an absolutely dangerous, dangerous notion. And it's dangerous and it's unintelligent, right? It's like saying a woman's womanhood is determined by her breast size. There's no intelligence in that. And I want us as, you know, this is a college platform here. I want us as college people and thinkers, I want us to absolutely move away from that. Because then what will happen is we'll just start doing all kind of ignorant things like rejecting people, right, based upon these things, which is the silliest thing in the entire world. And big don't mean pleasure.
Yeah, it don't. It doesn't.
All right. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I think part of it is, at least for me, growing up as a young girl, before I'd even kissed a boy, it was in my head that bigger is better. That's what a woman should want. A man, the bigger he is, the more pleasurable it will be, or things like that. And you hit it on the head what I was going to say about breasts. That's like the same thing for women, how biologically, if a penis is what makes you a man, you're going to want it to be as big or as large, and that's the same thing that women feel with their breast or their butt. That's what makes me a woman, so I need it to be the most extravagant thing it can be.
Absolutely. And it makes us destroy each other, really. Right? It makes us disrespect each other, it makes us dishonor each other, and it makes us value each other for the wrong reasons. Right? Or completely disvalue each other, right? When you're talking about toxic masculinity, right? And even this notion of what it means for a thing to be toxic, right? When we say toxic, in your head, what does that mean, the word toxic? Problematic, unhealthy. Good. I always think of poisonous, right? When I hear the word toxic, something that has the potential to destroy, right? And there are ways, in fact, when we're talking about toxic masculinity, the notion of penis size, I think, is one of the most toxic ideas in this notion of masculinity. Because if you're a 10-year-old boy and a 12-year-old boy, it becomes your obsession. And for a young man that age, that is horrendous to be obsessed with that kind of thing when you're in the 7th grade. You know what I mean? And there's another thing. I believe, this is my own assertion, but I'm going out there because I'm going to know my time is going to run out here soon. I also think that introduces to that young boy that part of the way he proves the excellence of his masculinity is the dishonoring of women. Because see, the whole point, when you connect this whole notion of penis size, it's supposed to do a work somewhere. That somewhere is woman. Y'all see what I'm saying? So the notion of how that idea perpetuates itself, it always ends up being an abuse on a woman's body. But that little boy, he did not create that idea. He inherited that idea from a world and from a society, right, that told him his worth and his value was in his sexual performance. Well, if that's true, then the first thing he has to do is perform. Right? Which means I need a female body. I didn't say I need a woman. I need a body. See, just as my sister was saying, he's objectified. Because all I need, right, is just the part I need in order to exercise this performance. I don't need to know your name. No, we don't need no connection. Right? You don't feel me? Listen. No, I'm not cuddling with you. Right? Because that's not a requirement of manhood. The requirement of manhood is my sexual performance. And what I'm trying to help us see here is that toxic masculinity ultimately insists that a young boy destroy girls as he's destroying himself. Because when you get to this at the end of the day, what does he have too? You're not a horse. And then we're all of a sudden in a minute, 18, we want someone of character. We want a young man of integrity. How you gonna get that out of that? When the last 12 years of his life, he's been obsessed with trying to figure out, right, how to be masculine. Because, if we're gonna tell ourselves the truth, it's one of our highest virtues. That's why it's everywhere. And not just in hip hop, it was long before that. Long before that. It is indoctrinated, y'all, in black culture in a way that's completely and absolutely destructive. I'm gonna give you an example. We just finished this season called Easter. Now I'm gonna really run out there heavy for a minute. Easter really is a celebration of toxic masculinity. Oh no. That's fine. I'm gonna do it. I mean, I'm a professor, that's what I'm here for. It's toxic masculinity because what we're really doing is celebrating that Jesus took an ass whipping and never cried about it. It's all in the songs. They whipped him all night long. Listen what it said. They just beat him. Listen at the violence. It is such a violent thing. The whole thing, right, is the physical pain Jesus endured. And we're proud of Jesus because it didn't kill him. That got up. Do you see what I'm saying? It's ensconced in a masculine trope, right, that reifies this whole notion of toxic masculinity. So we absolutely ought to bow before him. We absolutely ought to bow before him. They weren't whipping him, and he was like, ah! Ah! Stop it! Uh-huh. I'm setting up the opposite so you can understand now, and so we can identify ourselves on this continuum, right? We're really so proud, and not just, he first carried the cross. Oh, y'all supposed to be shouting by now if you understand. What does that mean? He was strong enough to do it. Absolutely. And we shot. He carried that old rugged cross up a hill. By the time he gets up there, nails in his hands, nails in his feet. All of this is masculine performance. Because then he hung there. And in fact, while he's hanging on the cross, he's talking to the others. In other words, in the midst of that, he still had the strength to save. There was nothing strong enough to take my Savior out. This is part of the reason black people won't let Jesus go. Because it's a performance of masculinity unlike anything we have ever seen. So we weep and we cry and we holler about it. Which is why Jesus, I always say, Jesus is the only single man I know whose sexuality most people don't question. But it's because his masculine performance was so absolutely unbridled. His masculine performance is so absolutely positively clear. He demonstrates so much that his strength exceeds that of almost any other man. So you good, bruh. You must be the Savior. You got to be. Does somebody understand what I'm saying? All right. And thus, we hold on to Jesus. My Savior! Yes! Yes. That's how much man I want. Just like that. And I'm saying I think that's problematic. But okay, all right. I'm just really showing you how our institutions in this culture reinforce toxic masculinity all the time. Even this notion that Eve was made from the rib of Adam. People. What? Baby, that's masculinity all day long. And the reason it's toxic is because the implication, right, is that you could get a man without a woman. That's the implication. Because how in the world do you get Adam first? What womb did you come through, bruh? Well, in this story, there is no womb. Adam just appears. That's how you know this is a Western conceived fable and ideology. No other culture in the world is going to conceive a being without the utility of a woman's womb. That's only going to happen in the West. And then, sir? Yeah, but not before Adam. and then Eve gets here, and some kind of way, Eve gets blamed for all the trouble. What? Like, how'd that happen? He said, I wasn't even first. The first problem, if y'all can really let me go there, in this Garden of Eden, that's perfection, right? The first problem is you have God, you have Satan, right? And you have Adam. In other words, you have a patriarchal garden before Eve is ever invited into it. Yes? The second problem is that God makes the covenant with Adam Don't eat of the tree of good and evil. Y'all know the story, right? Right? Don't eat of the tree of good. God makes the covenant with Adam. He does not make it with Eve. So that when Eve eats of the fruit, nothing happens. The world is still perfect. I'm talking right. The world does not shift when Eve eats the fruit. The world only shifts when she brings it back to Adam. Which means a woman's behavior is inconsequential to paradise. What I'm trying to say. Y'all understand what I'm saying to you, right? And I'm really trying to show you how we even get these constructs of patriarchy, these constructs of toxic masculinity, etc. They come from our institutions. They come from our ideology. They come from churches. They come from homes. Absolutely they do. They come from songs, right? They come from our own deep-seated beliefs, right? Even this notion that, that the children ought to have their father's name. What? Why is that true? And the woman did all the work to get him here. That's so interesting to me. Let me tell you something. If I carry a child for 9 months, did you hear me? In fact, it might be only my name. I might be nice and include yours, maybe. I'm going to pray about it. If I like you that much, right? Because ultimately, what we're really saying is that the man is the owner and the possessor of all things. That's what we're ultimately saying. And most of us are okay with that because we were reared this way, and it's true. But the part of being in college is not just to announce how you were raised, but to push against it in places. And to say, maybe that wasn't good. I know mama did that. I get it. Mama, I honor you. But maybe, maybe I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. Maybe we've had enough of this, right? Because the thing I think that's really important in terms of masculinity is I think we need a wider notion of masculinity. And I think we need a definition of masculinity that can include any man, right? Because I don't think masculinity should celebrate some small, narrow performance of men, because then that means all the other boys are going to try to figure out what the hell is wrong with them. I think we need notions of masculinity that include different kinds of men that we all can be, and that would allow us to birth sons and wait to see the beauty of masculinity they bring. Not, I'm going to give you the one that you're going to live with if you're going to be in this house. Right, which is what my father had. I have 4 older brothers, and I'm the youngest. And when I came along, I was very dramatic, believe it or not. My father was not, and hated every single moment of it. I was also very, very, very artistic. I played the piano. I was a church musician at age 6, 7. I acted. Y'all don't know the show, but there was a very famous show when I was a kid called Fame, right? And there was a boy named Leroy on there, and I would spin and dance around the house like Leroy, right? And the fury in my father's eyes would just have you laughing. Right, I would just be, Daddy, sit down. I mean, the man could not contain himself. He would be so furious, right? And I'd sit down for 5 minutes, you know. Then I'd get up and start some. Or one Christmas, you'll laugh at this. I wrote poems to everybody in our family. There were 7 people in our family, and I wrote each person their own personal poem, and I rolled it up like a scroll. Right? And I tied a ribbon around it, and I put it under the tree. I'm thinking I'm doing something. Isn't that creative? Right? I'm like 12, right? My brothers are like 14, 16, 19, right? And I'm like, oh, my God, this is the best idea ever. They're going to love this. You know, I'm thinking it's original. It is, and it's literally original because, you know, nobody else would ever get this, you know. And I type it like a scroll. I'm like, this is a holy text. This is sacred text. You know, so Christmas morning, they each get it, right? And literally every single brother was like, a poem? Okay. Oh, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. And they all crumbled up these poems and threw them in the trash. They did. They absolutely did, right in front of me. In fact, they played basketball with them, like throwing them in the trash. Right? Here's what's really funny. Maybe 3 years ago, I went home for Christmas, and my brother said, do you have a copy of those poems you wrote? Right? Because I'm an author now. Mm-hmm. He said, oh, man, do you know what those poems would be worth now if we had kept those poems? I said, the problem is you're only valuing it now because you think somebody else would value it. You missed it then, and you're missing it now. Right? And so I said, yeah, I have it. You'd never get it again. Right? But what I'm really saying is, I guess my father sometimes would stare at me, and I'd be like, yeah, is everything okay? And he'd just be like, I said, Dad, you okay? And he would just, and I'd be like, what's wrong? And he would just be staring at me. And I'd be like, and he would just shake his head. And now I realize he was like, where the hell did you come from? Like, what is this, right? And what's really interesting, though, is I didn't lack confidence. I didn't lack confidence. I was certainly not the traditional masculine performing, but I did not lack confidence. And what I realized later is if a man can pull off confidence, you can be anything. You can be anything if you're confident in it, right? The world will follow you. But you got to see God in it, even if your own folks don't, you know? And so this notion of masculinity and what masculinity is and how toxic it can be is not only true, but it's really destroying us in so many, many ways, right? And let's talk about that for a minute, because I see even sometimes little boys with do-rags, right, and you're 5. Why do you have a do-rag on if you're 5 years old? You know what I mean? Or, get up, boy, stop crying. Why wouldn't the 2-year-old cry? Right? Hell, I'm 55 and I probably cry once a week. Right? So let's think of some of the ways in which masculinity denies a boy of humanity. Give me a couple other examples.
I feel like even like small boys, like say it's like your dad, they don't have a dad in their life. Like women will tell 9-year-old, 10-year-old boys like, oh, you need to be the man of the house. You need to, and it's like they're a boy. Like they expect them to take on a role as a husband instead of them like being a mother to their son.
Little man to somebody 5.
Yeah, like or like, oh, when they're little and like they might not cry about something you thought they would cry about, they'll be like, oh, you're acting like a big boy. You're acting like a big boy, but like, why does that equate to that?
That's good. I'm coming to you. Yes, Eric. And now I'll get you.
I say one major thing that I noticed is since we were taught, even as boys, to suppress emotion when we were younger, growing up, you feel me, around, you feel me, when we get older, it's hard to, you feel me, deal with and, you feel me, express those emotions in healthy ways, especially in relationships and different things like that. Because while when you're younger, you're told you're not supposed to show emotion, you feel me, be a man, you feel me, so now you feel like me, a lot of my friends, we don't know how to deal with certain situations when they come up because we weren't, you feel me, we weren't taught how to deal with, you feel me, different emotions that arise.
You made mention of like the Bible and just, you know, being a minister and things of that nature. I kind of see that especially in the pulpit and in ecclesiastical spaces where women are not really able to operate in ministry. But what's interesting as when you look at the textual evidence of the cross, that there's women mainly that are there when Jesus arises from the grave, and we don't make really mention of that. And someone highlighted that and brought that to my attention, kind of how it is that it's patriarchal, even in the sense that people are not able to have full access to Jesus or even preach Jesus if you're not a man or if you're not, once again, like you said, of stature or of leadership, which typically comes in a patriarchal culture.
And I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to get this other hand. Do you know how dangerous it is for slaves to use their master's text to find God?
I was just going to bring up the problem that many parents or adults have with little boys playing with certain toys, like feminine toys, dolls, or dollhouses and stuff like that. Like, they have a problem with it, but their kid push people to play with what they want to play with.
That's a tricky one too. Would you let your son have dolls? You would. Could your son play with dolls? Do you have children, sir? Would you have been okay if your son had a doll? You had girls, but you would have. Okay. Okay.
I'm going to say yes because my cousin, when he was little, he was like 5, he always used to play with my Barbie dolls. And of course, the kid I didn't want to share, but I didn't have a problem with the Barbie doll thing. But even me, when I was growing up, my favorite show was like Teen Titans, Ninja Turtles, and I played with Hot Wheels growing up, so yeah.
I'm gonna say, and she said, y'all, at some point, not this conversation, I wish I had time to really help you to see why people are more disturbed by a boy's sexuality than a girl's. And there are reasons for that I could really lay out if I had just okay.
I feel like we're on the same page of a woman can be masculine and nobody really cares about it. When you're a girl, they call you a tomboy or whatever, and you can do with boy things. But if you're a little boy, they call you a sissy and they degrade you for being. Yeah, it's not something that's degrading. We uphold masculinity more than we uphold femininity. But no boy is proud of being. Yeah, no.
Not even I think also that there are ways, and I want to ask you, I think there are ways also that we think that we're creating a son that we can be proud of. We're thinking that we're creating something that in the public eye, right, would bring us a kind of applause when we're raising little boys. I think we're not so much concerned about that with girls because we want girls to serve, right? We want boys to be the example in the world for us. We don't necessarily want women to do that. We want women to be servants of those boys, right? What do you think about that, Trent?
I'm thinking of what you just asked. We want men to be examples so that women can serve that. Well, I guess from the beginning of this conversation, my thought has been, I definitely was in alignment with what you said about everyone wants to be the master, no one wants to be the slave. However, we need people to braid into each other, to fold into each other. And so with that being the case, I've always sort of believed that what this sister said just a moment ago, that it's an expression, like masculine and femininity are expressions of energy. And so what we need to do is understand that we both carry that. We both need to give in to each other, to uplift one another so that we can have a mutual exchange of responsibilities and roles. So as far as men being an example, we should be an example for each other. We should be looking at a woman and saying, like, I support you in your endeavors. We should look at men and say, well, whatever your expression of masculinity is beautiful, so that we can, instead of tearing each other down for being an expression of femininity or being a man who expresses more femininity, say, this is who you are and I accept that and I love that, and you can be that without continually degrading that person. I hope I touched on that, how you need it.
Absolutely. The final thing I want to say, y'all, is that when you talk about, I wrote it down, when you talk about masculinity and toxic masculinity particularly, one of the things that I also think is important is you have to be careful of negotiating certain parts of toxic masculinity while protesting the other parts, right? You have to really get clear that masculinity as a social idea, and all of these really are social constructs, right? None of this is really God. This is all human made. But you got to be very careful because toxic masculinity is not going to obey your desires. You won't get pieces of it in places. If you invite it, it's coming. And it's coming fully, right? And it's coming absolutely. but it will end up destroying absolutely everybody in a society, including the men themselves. But the reason it's complicated is because everybody wants men to have it. I've never seen a place in America where the people in general, there are always pockets, but in general, the people didn't want masculine boys. I've never seen it. In black places, we definitely want it. We want it. We want it. We want it in our preachers. In fact, in most churches, not only do they want a masculine preacher, they want a preacher with a wife. And if you don't have a wife, God's going to send you one. And God's going to send you one in about 6 months. Right? We want you to have. Very often, we want men who can teach. And let me tell you very quickly. There are all these independent black schools now, at these elementary schools, that are trying to give attention, which I think is a good thing, to the number of black boys who do not finish public schools. That I think is a good thing. So there are these independent schools where full of these black boys, and they keep asking, we need men. We need men. It's so deep. It's so deep. It's so deep. We need men in these schools. In my head, why wouldn't you need the same kind of teacher any other school would need? Because we're trying to raise men. What are you saying? Number one, part of what you're saying is, if a young boy falters, somewhere, a mama was behind him. See, somewhere inadvertently, we're blaming women. Do you understand what I'm saying? For a boy's poor manifestation of manhood. In fact, very often, if you get a boy, especially if he's feminine, et cetera, they'll say, were you raised by your mama? Right? Did you grow up with your grandma? Oh, you probably had a lot of sisters, didn't you? In other words, there's got to be some feminine excuse, right, for why you didn't, quote unquote, end up right. Right. And I think part of what it also is suggesting is that there's something magical that a man does, right, in terms of boys. And I do think men are necessary for children. I absolutely believe that. I think women are necessary also. I'm not sure, though, I'm of the school of thought that if a boy does not have a male somewhere around, he's going to be, quote unquote, messed up. I'm not sure I'm of that school of thought. Right. And I think it's dangerous even to think that. Right. But also, y'all, where I want to leave us is when we talk about toxic masculinity, become analytical enough, right? Become critical enough that you stop a minute and start thinking, even what is it you're asking when you're talking about mates? What really are you asking? This notion that I think a man should open the door for me. What are you asking for? Not just the gesture. I don't mean just the gesture. What really are you asking for? Right? Begin to think these things through, because sometimes the thing we desire is the thing we are actually critiquing. Right? So we're going in a circle. And the reason we can't dismantle it is because as soon as we throw it out, we go get it. Right? So that trash becomes our very own desire in just a minute, in just one moment.